Hi everybody, it's Andy from Inside the Music, and today on 5 and 5, my guest today is Mark Bennett, and he is presiding in the great state of Oklahoma.
Yep.
So being in that state of Oklahoma, what do you do to decompress? After just to have some fun. What is it that you like to do?
I am a big fan of the outdoors. We're fortunate. I come from a family that gets outdoors a lot. So whether that's hiking or in particular hunting, I've got, both my 19-year-old son, my dad, my uncle, my grandpa when he was alive, and a lot of cousins that we get to the lake, we get to the woods. We've got some land in the family that's about an hour away from civilization here in Oklahoma, and we
Awesome.
go we go have fun. Sometimes pick up rattlesnakes and do all kinds of crazy. I'm just kidding. Never picked one up, but yeah, we might poke them or something with a stick. Good old Oklahoma.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. California, I love the summertime.
For sure.
that's my thing. Swimming, going to Lake Havasu. That's been our thing in our family for since I was a baby. So 57 years of going to Lake Havasu.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's great. Anytime you get to spend time with the family, and I don't,
Yeah.
I only have a brother, so I don't have a big family, so to say. But in Illinois, I do. My mom's side of the family, there's a big family. But
But
anyways, another conversation.
you're right.
So
Yeah. That's
now, do
good.
you ever write any? Do you ever write anything out there? Do you take your guitar with you when you go, or is that just strictly just to decompress and get away from it all?
More often it's to decompress and get away from it all, but I'd be lying if I said I don't sometimes drive an hour away just to get out there by myself, but I may be listening to mixes that I'm working on the entire way there and the entire way back. Something like that.
That sounds like what Linda and I do when we go to Havasu. We always throw our CD in and listen, so it's fun. It's
Yep,
fun.
yep. Make use of that time. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Now, the other thing I want to point out real quick to everyone out there, this is, I think, my seventh or eighth interview I've done. And so far, let's see, there's only been one that hasn't had the beard going on. And that person was
Yeah.
Mark Anders. Great guy, by the way.
Fun. Yeah.
Wonderful conversation I had with him. But I think it's funny that we all have the beards going on. I don't know, maybe it's the age thing or what it is, or just the time, uh, you know, that's serving us.
I've always had one, but only until about, what is it, 4 years ago. This is my COVID beard that I never got rid of. I've always had one short, kind of like yours, and then
Mhm.
I actually grew my hair out and my beard down to about here
I remember
in 2020, and never looked back. I did
that.
cut the hair finally, but never looked back on the beard. So yeah, loud and proud, and
There you go.
I yeah,
Yeah.
it ages me. What can I say?
Oh no, it looks good on you. It looks really good on you. So,
Thanks.
so all right. Well, I have here the questions that
Heck yeah.
that I wrote up. So let's get on to this. And like I said, the first five you can answer as long as you want. Take as much time as you need to answer them. The second set is rapid fire, but if you want to extend on those answers, you're more than welcome to. So, with that
Sweet.
said, let's get on to the very first question here. All right, question number one. What's the main instrument you use to start writing a new song with?
Ooh, good question. Be honest, probably more start on acoustic guitar than just about anything, even though if you ask me how much I play it these days, it's pretty small compared to prior years. I used to lead bands on the acoustic, even though my original instrument's piano, so I'm playing more keys and piano stuff when I'm maybe producing out a song or flushing one out and then I gig on the keyboard rigs, behind me. But man, something about the acoustic guitar is how I start many songs. And it may be it may be not even the instrument eventually used for the hook or the core of the song. But for some reason, I gravitate towards that, and sometimes that's my alone time instrument, no longer my performance instrument, just my alone time, and that's when songs come out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's my go-to instrument as well. And I think it's because it's easy to get to. You don't have to turn anything on. You just grab it and you play it.
I really think there's something to that. Yeah, I can even play. I've got teenagers and a wonderful partner, and um, I can play that acoustic guitar in the back room when everyone else is asleep, right? It's a little harder to fire up everything and get it through my headphones and start singing while people
Yeah,
are asleep. But
that's true.
I can get it. You're right. The accessibility of it is is probably that way. It's not, it sounds like it's for you too, but it's probably that way for tons of people. It's the one thing I've got them lined up over here, right? The one thing I can just grab.
How many do you have?
I'm pretty fortunate. My guitar collection's not huge, but I have two vintage family heirloom Gibson
Oh,
acoustics.
J45s
So
or are they?
I got a 67
Oh
J45.
my.
I've got a 61 LG. That's really my songwriter instrument, believe it or not. It's not big and bold, and doesn't record quite as well as a J45, but the little LG is a little smaller body.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's broken in like an old glove. It's my live performing acoustic, because it's easier to get around. And boy, I've just beat it up. The case is worn out, you know. But that's my, her name's Millie. I name all of the guitars. So her name's Millie, and Millie has been the giver of more songs than anybody. And yeah, even
That's
like my kids know that. They're just like, "What were you doing on Millie last night?" I'm like, I don't know. Well, figuring out a song.
that's so wonderful. I have yet to play any Gibson acoustic.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never, you know, the Guitar Center we have here is it's okay. They got a decent amount of good acoustic guitars, but and I think they have one Gibson hanging up in the corner, and I don't know because it's so high up there, I can't read the tag, so I have no idea what model it is. But yeah, I have yet to experience a Gibson, to be honest with you. So you know, I I started on I can never pronounce the name Takamine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's how I pronounce it. Yeah.
I went to Takamine, and then Yamaha, and now I'm on Breedlove, and I have two Breedloves. The one, mm, but the other one, that's my main writing one. That's the one I really. As a matter of fact, if anyone wants to buy my other Breedlove,
You just gave it a big endorsement right there.
yeah,
Though they have
hit me
been
up.
Breedlove, right? Breedlove has been they've been setting a high bar for modern guitars. And in fact, I got my teenage daughter a Breedlove, because she wouldn't stop playing Millie. And but yeah, there's something about the charm of the old Gibsons, in particular. Now, some of their new ones, um, many of their new ones are pretty excellent as well. It's hard to beat. I've got a buddy with an old one and a new one, but the new one gets pulled off the shelf more. It's just a fantastic instrument. And I'd be lying if I said both of those two old Gibsons haven't had to be in for service and have
Hmm.
some
Right.
serious work to kind of keep them working. And occasionally I wish I had a third acoustic that was maybe not as prone to
Right.
buzzes and and
Yeah.
quirks
Yeah.
and bad days.
I'm just remembering now that I had 19, shoo, man, was it a 67 or 65 Fender acoustic?
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it had the Strat style headstock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and the strange thing was, man, you pick it up, it was heavy, and they had a brass tube going down in the middle of the body that was connected like toward where the neck was, and I took it to a place because the body itself needed to have some cleats put in it to pinch it back together, and it had needed some work to be done. And the neck, when I got it, was just like, really bowed, and man, the strings, you couldn't really even touch the frets. But he said that it was in there because Harman, it came from Harman, I guess, that idea was supposed to help brace that neck better. So when you put heavier strings on, it wouldn't bend and bow. But over the years, that one, a guy was actually going to throw it away. And I'm like, no, give it here. I'll take it. And I spent like a couple $100 to get it fixed. But unfortunately, even with it getting it fixed, it still sounded great, but it had, like you were just saying, but a lot of buzzing on the neck, and it was just tough to press. So I had to let it go, and I traded it in for the Breedlove that I
Gotcha.
adore.
Yeah.
So, but
it's funny. I could talk about guitars all day, and
Yeah,
I love
me
that they
too.
usually have stories and songs in them. I oftentimes say that, that
right. Yeah.
the connection we have to them can bring out songs that, one guitar may bring it out of you, another guitar may not.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
And electric guitars, I find that interesting with electric guitars, because that's what happens to me on electric, because you can change the tone to anything you want.
Yep.
Dirty, clean, whatever you want to do, and that will set your mind somewhere else. But
For
enough
sure.
guitar talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go on to question 2.
Sweet.
Now, I know that you write songs. Obviously, we got that out of the way from the first question. But second question is, when you're writing your lyrics, do you focus on rhyming your words, or do you use a different approach when you're writing lyrics?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I heavily focus on the rhymes. However, it's as I've gotten, I think, a little older. Like, I've written since I was probably 10, 12. I was the classic kid that was writing my first song when I was 10, and I couldn't fall asleep, and I was staring out the window. So my first song was something about like, it's 3 a.m. I can't fall asleep. I'm staring out the window. Just I think most songwriters have written
Right.
that at some point in just different words. Rhymes are big for me, and so is equally as important is how it rolls off the tongue and that rhythm. And so if I can't, it's weird. If I can't get the rhythm and the rhyme to really sync up pretty well, I tend to not think that line is done, whether I'm talking about the chorus and the hook or something key to the song, or even just in the verses. I don't always get it right, but I will stare at a line and many times substitute words or rearrange the words. And I think not just that rhythm, but it almost always ends in, I may have too many words in the beginning. I may have the rhyme I want, the keywords rhyming may be perfectly suited towards the theme, but I may still feel like I have too many words because the rhythm feels to me like it's clunky. It's not exactly singable, not exactly as catchy. And a lot of times I'll whittle away words until the only thing left, I guess I'm thinking in my head when I'm doing this, but like the only thing left is the most important words and the most efficient way to say it in a way that's also catchy and nails that rhyme. So those, I think, are the two things that I'm looking for. And that's partly why that's partly why I don't actually have tons and tons of songs out. I am coming out with more this year, and I got 4 in the works, recording 4 more soon. But it was not until 2021 when I first actually released songs in the format of just under my own name.
Right.
Because I was pretty harsh on my own writing, and
we're always our worst critic, as they say.
For sure, right.
But
sure.
with you saying that, you're releasing your own music, can you please give our audience where they can find your music?
Oh, sure.
Please.
Yeah. So I'm Mark Adam Bennett is my My artist name, you can find it. I do have a pretty active by my own standards YouTube page, just with some of music videos for my songs that are out on Spotify, Apple, and everywhere you can find streaming music. Um, my music is out there only in streaming form and YouTube, but YouTube, I have a little bit more of my songs. There's I do some stuff right here in this living room where I kind of turn out all the lights, just have one light on, and it tends to be a place where I maybe share a live version of a
Right.
song that I have not yet released, or um, uh, a couple of them are covers, just songs that I got inspired to
Right.
sing or something in my weird way. Um,
Well, I
but
remember
yeah,
you.
so
I'm
okay.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I remember
No.
you were at one point, or on, I think it was Instagram, you were going on there showing how you actually write a song too. You had that, and I remember uh, participating with you because you had the live chat going, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And I have not gotten to do much of that. I've only gone live a couple times, but yeah, you can find me under Mark Adam Bennett on Instagram page, and a lot of times I may just be showing there clips of the music video I've been working on, or
Mhm.
song I've been mixing, or yeah, a couple times when I was deep into writing that album, that EP a couple years ago. I was able to go live a few times. I haven't had as many chances to do that, but want to do it again. And I'm hitting 2024 in a mode of I'm going to prioritize some of my own songs, and probably pass on some other projects in order to get some out. So I'll go
Right.
live again and talk through it, I think. And it's fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot you popped on that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and
Good.
it's something you don't see very often, actually. At least I haven't come across it very often. The format you were doing it in. So, and you had a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
cool.
people on there too that day. There's
I
two
sure did.
times.
I sure
I was
did.
shocked. And I was like, wow,
I should do
he's
that
on to
more.
something. Yeah. So, but
Oh, one
back.
second.
No problem. Okay.
I think I just activated SIRI. He was yapping at me.
Oops.
What is that? Yep.
So back to the lyric writing. I have a tendency to pay attention to the syllables of words
Yep.
for the melody purposes. Not so much on the rhyming aspect because I'm a story writer. I like to write story songs.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get a story out in a 3 minute form, the where it makes sense, I try not so much to concentrate on the actual rhyming of words. And if they do rhyme, then thumbs up for me. But the
Oh, yeah.
syllables of words. So if one line has 10 syllables, and I try to get the other line to have matching syllables, so they have a
Oh,
matching
yeah.
rhythm, so to speak.
Yeah. That rhythm's really important, right?
Right.
There's
Right.
something about the way our brains can gravitate towards, like you said, we are telling stories usually
Right.
one way or another, and sometimes the story is more important than almost any other aspect of the song.
Right. Right.
But if we can do it in a way that is repeatable and
Right.
sticks in your head, that's a
Right.
great goal. And that's why that rhythm is important. It's the syllable count, the
Right.
where do the where do the vowels fall, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, it's very important. That's
Yeah.
where I kind of pay attention to more. Um, So, anyways, but it's as long as you finish the song, that's the important thing. Because there's a lot of people out there they get going on stuff and then they just kind of brush it aside, move on to this one, pull this one over here, and then they brush that one
Yeah.
aside, and then you have a whole 12 songs sitting over there that you never finished. Um, so
Yeah. I've been prone to that.
I have about probably six right now that I'm doing that with. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm guilty of
Yeah.
it too. So, all right. Question number three.
Cool.
Okay. When you start your recording process, do you always start the same way or do you change it up every so often? Just for something different.
Ooh, another good question. Um, I would say my process for producing the song, if we're going to specifically talk about something I've written, you know, I don't always get to follow my favorite process if I'm coming in to help someone else or hired to do so. My favorite process when I've written, I will actually demo the crap out of it for a while to test some format stuff and arrangement stuff. And almost all that demo stuff is really just a placeholder and a guide and has no bearing on the final process of when I actually start to record for real. So usually I do, and I plan to follow the same process, which is have a song. Let's say I call a song finished. I'm excited about it. If I decide I'm going to record this, I'll either set aside a day in the future or book some time, because sometimes I go to, even though I got a studio here, there's sometimes I do drums in particular. So when I consider the start of the formal recording of a song is drums, almost always, if it's going to have live drums. But before that point, I have demoed the song and maybe experimented a little bit with its length, the amount of time it breaks in between a chorus and a verse, maybe sought to find my hooks or something catchy or something that defines the sound of that song, whether that's, hey, this song's going to be piano driven and it needs or Fender Rhodes sound or have a strong electric bass line. So I will demo those things. I'll usually do them fast. I usually work fast with that. I'm not caring about its accuracy. I'm not caring about its tonal perfection. I'm just thinking the demo of the song needs to be really coherent in my mind before I hit actual record on a drum set at a studio. It's mic'd up with 14 different mics, and we've been testing tones for 2 hours. And I'm not going to get to that point until I know exactly how I want it to go, which not everyone does that. Sometimes studios are for experimenting. Sometimes studios are for bringing in someone else to, just see what they do on it. In my case, I have a pretty good, clear understanding of this song's going to be about, 4 minutes and 10 seconds because it's going to be 8 measures to start. It's going to be this, and this could be this, it can be this. So my I call that I guess pre-production is what most of it would call it. Right? So I'm pretty thorough in that. It almost always has, because I start on so many things on acoustic, it almost always has an acoustic scratch track with just me singing, and it may be so fast that I found a tempo, made note of that tempo, threw up just one mic, not even cared about anything, but just played the song at tempo from start to finish how I think it should go. And I'll listen to it, analyze it, maybe too much, right? But those would be my scratch guides. And if I'm digging it, then I might turn right around, hit record again, and record the acoustic separately so I can have just a nice acoustic scratch track. Might record myself singing just one time through. I don't care about, repeats. And there's even times when I'll be like sitting in my chair singing in falsetto. I'm like, maybe, I think it's gonna go like that, maybe, right? Stuff like that.
Right.
Until I have an acoustic and vocal scratch, and then I might be. It tends to be this pre-production time tends to be when I'm the most kind of fluid and free and creative, because I might just immediately go flip on a soft synth and just be like, I think I want this. Throw on a drum loop or something. I think I want it to feel like this, and I'll maybe add, whittle away, but all those tracks are in a scratch format.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, I know I'm going to interrupt right here, because that was what was so fun about when you were doing that on Instagram, is that you were actually showing that whole process.
Oh yeah,
and you did. You said, no, I don't like that. I don't like that, and I'm gonna. And this was all on your keyboard. You were working on a keyboard song, so you actually scratched that. The tone you were going with, and you went to something different. Then you were messing with chords, and then you sang, and you came back, and I really don't care for that. Let's try this chord. Now that's something I can't do. I don't have that.
Oh yeah,
I don't have that ability. not to do it live and like that fashion like you were doing it. And that's what was so fun about watching your process of writing a song. And it was like, man, it was so eye-opening. And I really encourage anybody that's watching this video, go look up Mark's stuff. And if you can find that, I don't know if Instagram saves that types of stuff, because I'm sure it was on
Ooh,
It
I think it was, and I don't even recall if I do. I may have archived it if I do, but yeah.
But it
Uh,
was really inspiring. I mean, it really
oh,
was. I mean, I'm
thanks.
getting goosebumps talking about it
Good.
right now. So
Oh, thanks.
yeah. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to,
No,
just make that statement before I forgot to make that statement. So go ahead, go back to where, if you can remember where you were.
sure. Yeah, well, and that's really, I'm honored to hear that. Like I've kind of developed this process. I've talked with other songwriters and you yourself do these same things, may go different ways to achieve it. That's part of the fun of creative endeavors, right?
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, so back, I guess, to my process, that the pre-production stops the moment I hit, not stops, I guess I shouldn't say stops, but that pre-production is important to me to get that kind of vision in my head. And when I feel like I have the vision, or when studio time is already booked and
Hmm.
I have to finish that vision, um, then I go in and I start the actual professional production, which is drums first, bass usually. Um, I I tend to then take the ideas that I had on the rough demo and pre-production stuff, and I go fine tune them. And sometimes you diverge a little bit from the path, but um, I don't very much. I've got like, okay, and I got this sound. I know this is what's going to carry it, or what I hope is going to carry it. Um, I think I want, stereo wall of guitars as an example. So I'm gonna start tracking those, and I can do a lot of that here. So
Right.
um, sometimes, you know, sometimes it stacks up like that. I tend to do once it's the real production, I tend to do drum space and things that carry a heavy part of the rhythm first. I might put colorful stuff or
Hmm.
sound effects, or um, I might put that stuff on pretty later in the process. And then in my production world, for whatever reason, I always do the final vocals last.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of my sign to myself that it's over.
Well, the more I do this, is I'm finding the more that we all kind of mirror one another in certain aspects of things. Your process is pretty much right on mine. as
Is
far
it? Yeah,
as
yeah.
far as doing the demo over and over again. um I just was working on a song the last 2 weeks, and I thought I had a great beginning. This sounds great. And then I kind of made it fluid to the actual verses. But then as I dug into it and I actually put it on a click track, it was just too busy, so I
No, yeah.
rewrite the verse area to be you know more suitable for the lyrics. So yeah, and then I'm lucky because I have Sergio over in Italy,
Hmm.
my partner in crime, and
Yeah, absolutely.
he's so good about production. Uh, you know, it's just great to have that other, you know, input, because I'll send him something and he'll rearrange it, which is fine with me, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give the best product as possible. And
Absolutely.
you know,
And from what I've seen, Andy, you guys do that well. And I love that
thanks.
you're, in different parts of the globe, but
Right, yeah,
collaborating like that. That stuff's important, and
yeah,
y'all
yeah.
doing it well. So
So thank you very much. And now, and the other thing I kind of want, you also offer mixing as well too, don't you? You have your
I,
own.
yeah, it's I have a day job like many of us do.
Yeah.
I gig, yeah, play gigs locally, sometimes a little out of town or whatever. But a lot of my gig in life slowed down when I got a little older. You know,
Yeah.
had to. Had to. But so the one thing that I tend to offer, both kind of within my local music community here and to some degree online and for folks from various parts of the world at this point, is that I do offer mixing specifically to really just because it's one of my favorite part of the processes of the process of producing. And I also think because there's a lot of folks who um, don't have the opportunity to record something as well as it could be.
Right.
And so I have that knack, I guess. We've all done this long enough. You end up starting to learn how to maybe get the most out of
Sure.
out of a recording that isn't great. And so I love to do that and offer that. Like I have a small presence on air gigs, not a ton, but a lot of those, a lot of the work that's come from there have then been artists that and then I continue to work with over the years.
That's great.
And yeah, I just love it. So I don't have a time to do it a ton, but I generally go from one project to the next and keep busy out in my spare time.
Yes, there you go. So if you're looking for your music to get mixed or mastered or whatever, look up Mark.
Yeah.
He'll be happy to help you. So
Happy to help. Yep.
yeah. And with that, let's go on to question 4.
Okay.
What do you find the most challenging to record? And I know my answer is, but I'll let you go.
Ooh, most challenging. Well, my answer would probably be different if I had followed the path of full-time commercial studio work. Because I bet you the folks that are full-time and have run bands and artists through their place for 20 years, I bet they have some wild stories about the kazoo at one time that the artist really wanted to be on there and they just couldn't figure out how to get it to sound good, or the whatever. But for
That's
me,
classic.
yeah, right. I mean, you never know.
Right.
Or I mean, I've never had to record a baritone sax, so I don't know. Yeah. But no, for the hardest, a little dirty secret about myself and the acoustic guitars in particular, even though I've had quite a few wonderful guitars and I have 2 vintage Gibsons, there are certain songs and certain sounds that an acoustic can do that it has pissed me off for 20 years that I can't quite get it.
Yeah.
And I've used about every technique under the sun. I've certainly experimented to death in this space, which you can't really see kind of what's actually wrapped around me. I'm kind of in a dining room that's got some acoustic treatment on the ceiling and all through the sides and bass traps up here, stuff like that. My space in here is not dead. It's a little bit alive because of wood floors and that opening into the living room. So it's kind of a nice blend of treated, but not isolated. I don't have a vocal booth.
Right.
When I record acoustic guitar, the AC's turned off, the fridge is unplugged. I make sure the dryer's not running 3 rooms down. And then it does the job. But there is a sound that some producers have been able to get out of an acoustic guitar that I just can't get.
I'm chasing that. I chase that all the time too. So what I've done on this once, let's see, what song was it? Dog Day Afternoon that we released a while ago. What I ended up doing was I did an XY pattern stereo recording of it, and then I took another mic, stuck it directly behind it to get kind of a room ambience, and then I took another mic and I stuck it toward the body.
Yeah.
I wanted that lower end because I'm always chasing that thicker tone. The brightness of an acoustic's easy to grab. That to me, that's an easy thing. But it's that lower mid tone that I want. I want that, what it sounds like in my head when I'm actually playing it. That's what I want. So
Yeah, exactly. It's that sound that I'm hearing from here. But.
Yeah, yeah. And what I did was actually I used the technique that Warren uses on bass. I wiped out one side of the low end and wiped out the other side of the high end.
Oh, no kidding.
And I blended it, and that kind of achieved that, where I was looking for.
I'll be darned. Yeah, I never would have thought to try that on acoustic. I use that technique usually on bass when I mix.
Right. But because I'll try it just to see what it does, and that to me it worked on that particular song. Now I haven't done it since, so
yeah.
But
yeah, and what you said a second ago is right too. Like there's some sounds that acoustic, like if you want that pretty high end strumming where you've got a full rock band mix and the acoustics really just occupying some space. I don't know what the actual range is, but that high end part of the space doesn't have any body, easy to get.
Right.
But it's that intimate songwriter finger style or something. Or something. But yeah, that's the elusive sound for me. It still is. And, and I've it's probably the reason why I have a Royer ribbon mic. So I was like, maybe that's the sound. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's close. But
yeah, you're right. Yeah. And the other thing too is that string size I notice makes a big difference.
Huge
believe
difference.
it or not,
so does the pick, so does the humidity in the air.
Right.
And whether you're 10 inches or 12 inches from the perfect spot, like
right.
That matters so much. It's nuts. Yeah, you can just you can just do this and it changes dramatically.
And I have to watch myself do that because I have a tendency to move when I play.
Same. Yeah.
But the one that is recording my wife when she sings.
Oh yeah.
Because I want that to be the the main focus of the song, and I want to get that just right, and I screw it up all the time. I really do. Come on, we got to go back in there and do it again, and a lot of it has to do with the room.
For sure. Rooms.
I had a vocal booth back here, but
I was going to ask, is that where you do it now?
Well,
right there.
I had coming off this. Let's see, that wall here. I had another wall coming off.
Oh yeah,
I wanted more space, so I did away with it. And man, you talk about a difference now, because now it's way more of the room. I don't have anything on the ceiling, and I have laminate flooring on the floor. So I need to get some carpet for the floor, and I'm not going to do anything with the ceiling. But as far as it's much more open sounding now. It doesn't have that, tightness that we had when she's in that, just going back and forth off those walls.
Yeah.
So it does make, and I haven't tried the isolation booths. You put the microphone in the isolation booth. I haven't tried that.
I've got one. I did not end up using it on my last project for myself because I don't know. I found just the right spot in this room, faced just the right way where I hit the right room sound with my voice. But I'll be honest, like on my next 4 songs, I'm recording them elsewhere. I can do so many things here, but I'm recording them in a proper vocal booth, same place I'm working with my buddy to record drums.
Yeah, exactly. Most likely what I'll do the next time here we're in here recording, I'm going to stick it right in that corner right there. So at least I have 2 walls reflecting back toward the microphone, And I don't go right against the wall, but it'll definitely, give that balance back to it. I hope.
Sounds like a good plan.
Anyways. All right. Well, that was a fun question. That was a lot of fun. Good. Thanks. Question 5. What's your best advice for promoting the finished product? Because I know you and I have talked about this. We had long conversations about this actually, going back and forth on Messenger. So and you taught me a lot. You really taught me a lot.
Oh, good. I think it's sad to say that the burden is high for self-promotion for artists nowadays. And to some degree, the cost is. is it doesn't have to be high, but it's not nothing. Unless you're fortunate enough to have a pretty significant local or regional or national audience tuned in, there's still a a high burden for self promotion, which is probably my least favorite thing to do, right? But some of, and I think the important key here, some of YouTube and Spotify, I'll just use those as examples. Some of their algorithms are driven by, they are geared to promote themselves. So a Spotify song that is getting a lot of attention early on gets thusly promoted by Spotify in other ways, because you've sort of made Spotify aware that it's there and gaining attention. And they're like, well, that song must be, the computer, the robot overlords are thinking, it must be good. Let's kick this into other things. And that's why they have things like Release Radar and some of those other things. YouTube essentially does the same thing. So I actually took some classes from someone who teaches some of the social media promotion methods. I took it pretty seriously on my first EP. Definitely learned some lessons doing that, but I felt like it was a valuable and worthwhile thing to invest just about as much as I would have in the recording. I was able to do a lot myself, so I kind of saw it as, if I were to do what I'm trying to do in a professional recording studio, it'd be a couple $1,000s worth of studio time and getting someone else to mix it. So I thought to myself, since I mostly don't have those costs, what if I saw the investment the same way as investment in the promotion? So I learned the skills. I ran very, very strategic and specific ads in the Facebook Meta world and a little bit in the Google YouTube world, but did that pretty strategically. So I didn't just throw money at it with clicking the boost button that a lot of people do, but took some classes, learned how to dial it in, and gave myself, I thought it sure felt like, gave my first EP and some of my early videos a little bit of a foothold into those formats, YouTube and Spotify specifically. So because I got some traction there, and certainly connected with some new fans I wouldn't have had, and that's the bottom, that's the bottom dollar. That's the thing that we love to do, is sharing our music. We want some people to enjoy it. Because I made some connections there, countries all over the world. It helped get me a foothold, and that I would not have had if I hadn't kind of made that investment. So that foothold now means that on YouTube, for example, when I do another video, maybe play another song for fun, there's already kind of, the follower group is not huge, but if people, like my friends, my family, and folks that are kind of a fan of the music, it gets shown on their screen. It doesn't go into a wasteland, and that's because there's some promotion that went into making sure that the robot overlords, I can't think of any other better way to say that, the robot overlords know
that's perfect,
that I exist. So a new song should be shown to people who liked the previous songs. It's that kind of simple. And so I do think it is very valuable, and it's particularly useful to learn. If you want to take your promotion seriously, then learn how to do it, or hire someone to do it who knows what they're doing.
I find it important that when they do a Google search, because Google's the main hub of everything. They own everything. So I have a tendency to say that if you can get your name up there on that, first 10 on the list that they have, that's important to figure that area out. Otherwise,
you got to be able to find you if they're looking.
Right. Otherwise, you just kind of float away somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're lost in the interweb ether.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or as you said, the algorithm overlords. So,
Yes. Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
yeah, so long story short, I think it should be budgeted for and planned
yeah,
for
that's
and
what you
taken
taught me.
seriously.
That's
And
what you
that's
taught me.
the maybe that's the best way to summarize it.
Right.
So
And that's an important thing. Everything we do in this business is music should be budgeted. You know, you shouldn't be buying yourself an SSL console if you can't afford the SSL
right,
console. You
right.
know,
Boy, I would
I,
love to have one. Speaking of,
well, yeah,
but
but man, that pay, payment on it would be astronomical too. So,
right.
but
Right.
all right, man. Well, I hope someone out there got some valuable information on that one because I think that question and the answers you gave were definitely will help somebody out there somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so too. I would
Yeah,
certainly tell young bands that right now.
yeah,
Yeah, take it seriously. Yeah.
I agree with that. So let's go on to the second part of 5 and 5, the
Woohoo.
old rapid fire questions. So question number 1, favorite guitar strings.
Oh, the Diodario
Yeah.
coated 12s are what I use, and I'm looking for them right now because I hold on,
No
see if I can
problem.
find them because I don't know. Yeah, they're phosphor bronze coated. I
Yep.
don't know if you can see that, but
Yep.
them right there.
Hmm. I've used them. I've used them.
I used elixirs when they first came out and then had a big meltdown about how they were sucking my tone away. And this was in the whatever, early 2000s or something. I'm not sure when they came out, but
Right, right.
so I stuck with non-coated strings for 10, 12 years. But then I don't know how they've changed over the years, but um, they are a pleasure to play. They get the sound closest to what I want to hear coming out. So
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. What about for your electric guitar? Do you have any particular ones you use on your electrics?
Ooh, I've gone back and forth. I've got a man, I kind of changed them a little too. Might change my preference. I was using I have a Gibson Midtown, which is a hollow body
Mhm,
with it's kind of a Les Paul in hollow body
mhm,
form.
mhm.
And I've gone back and forth using I guess maybe they call them the jazz kind of jazz sets, but thicker strings that have
Mhm.
a wound G string instead
Oh
of an
yeah.
unwound
Hmm,
G.
hmm.
Um, I tend to set my electrics up a little bit more like an acoustic, a
Right.
little
So
stiffer.
my
Um,
understanding that wound G string actually helps hold the no that G string that darn G string that always goes out of tune no matter what guitar you have. I understand that
yeah,
that
yeah.
wound G that one there will actually help keep it in place that because it's a little bit thicker, so it
Yeah,
sits up on the nut a little bit better, so it slides.
I
Um,
sure think so. And I both my guitars, both my electrics. I've got that Midtown and I've got a Telly, um,
mhm.
the beautiful Telly by a local artist who hand builds guitars. Um, so both of them are set up that way. I'm pretty sure they're just Diodario, but don't quote me on it. They're not coated.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
can't remember. I don't have a blank set of their strings handy.
Yeah. I'm a big
But
baby. I was using 12s, but my fingers just I couldn't use them, man. I was like, oh man, they were just too sore too often, even though I had big calluses. So I went back to 11s on the acoustic uh and I actually have a couple of my electrics that are strung up with 9s.
yeah,
And 10 yeah, one that's has 10, and that's I won't go any heavier than 10s on a electric.
I have backed down. I used to play the 13s on the acoustic. No thanks, not
No,
anymore.
yeah,
I'm too old for
yeah. I
that.
might as well just play a bass at that point.
Yep, yep,
So yeah, but my fingers just couldn't handle that anymore. So, nope.
yep.
So, all right. Question 2: go-to mixing technique that adds something extra to that sound that you're looking for. And
Ooh,
I think I might know the answer to this one, but I'll let you go.
Okay, yeah, always the first thing that comes to mind is I love to set up the delay buses for
Mhm.
vocals, but I'd also use it on instruments sometimes. I love to set up a delay bus whose output is into my
Mhm.
reverb of choice. So it's not dry audible repeats, but the delay I can run up and down on the fader, and push little amounts up and down of how much stereo delays usually go sort of swimming into the
Yeah.
reverb. Yeah, I think you've seen my video about that. Just something I love, especially with
Yeah.
spacey instrument sounds. You can definitely overdo it, but I think a lot of delay and reverb plugins over the years have essentially done that, but a lot of people haven't realized they were doing that
Right, right,
because
right.
a lot of times less experienced engineers will set up a delay
Mhm.
bus and a reverb bus, but they're not actually talking to each other.
Right, right.
Yeah, dry delays going over wet reverb, and sometimes there's a place for that. But yeah, I love that. I love that. And anytime I get to use that, I
It's
smile and I just go,
it
"Ooh, can't wait to
it's
set that up." And
it's a technique that you taught me, and then I haven't gone away from it since.
it's
So
great.
yeah, it really
It's
is. It makes it makes this makes everything glue together more. I guess you would say.
it does, and you can leave a static reverb amount, but adjust the
Sure.
amount of delays flowing to it to
Hmm.
get some variation of sound. It's really hard to people can't really exactly pin down where it's coming from or how it's working, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah, well, with Cubase we have the ability. I'm sure you have that, and you use are you using Pro Tools?
yep, Pro
Yes.
Tools still
Yeah.
20
Well,
20 freaking years or something.
I adjust the send amount. A lot of times,
Hmm.
what I'll do is just adjust the send amount to where it's,
Hmm.
just make everything sound it's in the same room basically, and it's
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so
And same thing,
that
different people have set it up different ways, but yeah, adjusting the send amount or pulling it off like I do on a fader, it
right, yeah,
accomplishes wonderful things. Love it.
right, that it does, and the other one that you taught me too was the parallel compression. Uh,
Oh yeah.
that was a
Oh yeah.
big leap for me as far as getting that
Yeah,
extra, snap out of something, or
absolutely.
bite out of something. So, but
And
so
to that point about you mentioned getting extra snap or bite or something. You can also use it, right, to get extra body,
right.
depending on kind of how you set it up. Um, but yeah, it's a mainstay of most mixes. It's a default
Hmm.
start there with when I'm setting up a mix. So
Yeah.
certainly on drums, definitely on vocals, usually on an instrument bus, and definitely encourage anyone who doesn't know what we
Yeah.
mean by parallel compression or parallel distortion as well,
Right.
right?
That
Like
too.
something.
Right. Right.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to learn those
Yeah.
techniques. It's
There's,
simple, but it's important.
I
Uh,
agree. It does make a
yeah,
huge difference. It just makes everything more lively.
for
So,
sure, for
mhm.
sure.
All right. Question 3. Favorite all-purpose microphone?
Ooh, I got a 414, and that's because it's my favorite all-purpose microphone. AKG 414.
Right. 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 That's
Uh,
So
yeah.
I've asked that question now 7, 8 times, and that's the first time someone said that, Mike.
Oh
So,
yeah.
well, the staple one everyone always says. It's the
Oh gosh.
SM57. That's
Oh
or the
no,
58.
sorry. That's my 58.
58, right.
Yeah,
You know.
I'd be lying if I didn't say you
No,
put a 57 dadgum on
it's
anything.
but yeah, but it's great to hear a different answer finally
Oh
from
yeah,
someone else,
right on.
Mhm.
Well, the better condenser microphones, they're kind of like an acquired taste because 414 is a large diaphragm condenser.
Mhm.
It's kind of AKG's mainstay.
Mhm.
Um, those mics sometimes have a particular character. Many of those large diaphragm mics are leaning towards, the pristine vocals or something. Um, they can be tube, they can be whatever, FET or whatever, or they can be pretty
Mhm.
clean. Um, the 414 is not usually in the same category as the most highly regarded vocal mics in all of history, like a U87 or U67 or something, but it's close. And it's
Right.
up there, and it's in every studio's, it's almost every studio's
Mic locker.
mic locker,
Right.
if not pairs of them
Mhm.
or 10 of them, depending on
Right.
what they record all the time.
Right.
The the high pass filtering is solid. It's right there on the mic. Um, the polar pattern can be, hypercardioid, cardioid, wide cardioid, or omni. And those are the reasons, like when I just had to choose one, I knew that mic pretty well. And I still drool over microphones. I got 8 or 10, but that's the one that I got that I was like,
Yeah.
I can
I,
do a lot with this.
I've got a lot of microphones, and to me, the microphones can change the tone of what you're recording. Especially on vocals. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
a huge difference between mics on vocals.
for sure.
I'm a big SE fan. Back there in the corner, right
Yeah,
there, in that little
yeah,
red
that's
velvet
right.
thing there. That's Linda's baby right there. Uh,
Nice.
so, but anyways, it was great to have a different answer than the usual
Sure.
Sim 57.
Yeah,
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
you bet.
Question 4, favorite headphones.
Ooh, so you caught me at an interesting time
I know,
because
I know. That's why I'm
recently
asking
got,
this.
uh-huh, I recently got a, I recently invested in a better pair than I had had for years. Um, I certainly have worn a lot and heard a lot over the years that probably belonged to somewhere else or at someone else's studio, but I ended up with the Neumann NDH20s, and I chose them over the Beyer 1770s. I got both in, after doing a lot of research and just hearing some stuff that scuttlebutt in our Produce Like a Pro forum,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
Facebook page or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I settled on those two as my choices. And one's night and one's day, and I ended up choosing the Neumanns. Um, and yet here is my answer. My worn out 10-year-old pair of HD 280 Pros,
Hmm.
those are still my favorites because I know them
Right,
so well, and they're not particularly all that good.
right.
I mean, it's a solid pair of, it's a solid pair of headphones, but it's not the choice of some of critical full-time Grammy
Listening.
winning
Right,
mix engineers. Um, but I know them so well, and
right,
that's a big thing. So I'm still getting to learn the Neumanns. I really love that they can tell me some things that the
right,
HD 280s can't.
right,
Um, the isolation is better, the stereo image is better, the clarity is shockingly good, but
right.
I still A/B back and forth between them now when I'm needing to use headphones because I was like, well, I know these.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Ooh, I hadn't heard that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think a lot of it has to do with the way everybody hears things differently too.
for
Um,
sure.
I had a pair of AKG's 712s Pro. I hated them.
Yeah.
They were, the minute I put them on, they just kept falling off my ears. I had to pull them back up and fiddle with them all the time. And then on the high side of things, they were just too brittle. Um, so I ended up getting rid of those and got these buyers, uh,
I know
DT
those
900s. These are 900s,
900s.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and man, I love them. So
Once you find the ones that click with you, and especially it is one of those things I recommend anybody
right.
uh listen to your favorite music through some before you go
Hmm.
buy one or compare two or three
Right, right, exactly.
and look at your budget, do it right.
Yep.
But
Budget again. Again, we're on that budget.
right.
Right. For all you youngsters out there, budget. So,
Yep.
question number 5. Favorite piece of outboard gear?
Oh, I do have some goodies in here. I mix everything ever since I got it, every single time I mix everything through SSL's Fusion,
Mm-hmm.
and it is hard to not just love that thing. There's only a couple bus processing outboard mix gear things that get really that good. I mean, Neve's got a competing bus processor. Um, uh, there's not a whole lot others that can do what those two boxes can do. So I went with the SSL. And man, I just love what it does.
Yeah.
Um, I just have it permanently patched. I don't actually mix out of the box very much or too many ways, even though I've got like some 500 series modules here. Most of those are preamps. But I've got some tools that I can patch in if I need outboard. But I permanently take every mix patched through the SSL Fusion and Worm's bus compressor, which is an
Mhm.
SSL style bus compressor, which is pretty good. I've always gravitated towards mixing, not every time, but mixing through the SSL style bus compressor. But the Fusion itself, um, it is the reason my mixes don't just stay in the box. It is the reason because it's such a great job of
Coloring.
final
Yeah.
final stage coloration
Right.
and bring some impact and some glue and some uh, shaping. And it's pretty simple. It's like 5 modules built into one box. So you just kind of on, I need to use this one,
Right.
off, I don't need to use this one, on, I need to
Right.
use those. Yeah,
And
that's my
isn't it
favorite.
wonderful that when you have, if you're lucky enough to have outboard gear, or if you choose to, you don't have to have it. But I like the fact that you can just reach your hand out and turn something.
Oh, for
You can
sure.
touch it.
Yeah. I
I
hate doing a mouse click to do anything creative, but I will turn a knob all day long.
yeah,
It's
exactly right.
tactile. We're
Exactly.
musicians.
Yeah,
Put your
exactly
hands on
right.
it. Feels like music. Yeah.
And it actually, when I first got my first compressor, uh, it actually helped me to understand compression way easier because I could simply dial it and not have to use the stupid mouse to move, to move
Oh,
things.
yeah, I wouldn't have thought about that. I
You
grew
know,
up in some studios that had outboard gear, um, or at least doing some live sound with outboard gear. So yeah, I totally learned compression because it was in a rack next to a mixing console and somebody was showing me how the
right,
ratio and the threshold and things like that work.
right.
But I forget that probably, man, tons of people, especially nowadays, don't ever actually have that
The ability.
opportunity.
Right,
So
right,
compression is a software,
right.
not a path. I would have
Yeah.
never thought about that, but it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that and then speaking of that is that you opened up my eyes to a company called Black Lion,
Yeah. Heck
and
yeah.
man, now I have three, one, two, three,
Oh, you got
four,
3 now?
five. I got
Oh,
the channel strip, their 18 channel
yep.
strip, their 17 compressor, which is their 1176,
Oh, yeah.
and then the Bluey. I have a Bluey.
Oh,
Love that
nice.
on vocals. Oh man, it
Yeah.
does something
Yeah.
different. And
Yep.
then I have two of their preamps, the Arturi preamps,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
just for recording. And I send Linda's vocal mic in through those, and then down into using the old patch bay to get that.
Fun.
So
Yeah, those are great paths. I remember with my first auteurs, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it,
I
but the
that's how I
Black
pronounce it.
Lion.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember I didn't have much at my disposal at the time. I was trying to record some songs at the house. I put an acoustic guitar through 57 at the time,
Mhm.
through 57, and I had one of the early Focusrite interfaces, just a 2-channel interface,
Right.
'cause this was just my meager home rig at the time.
Hmm.
Plugged the mic straight into the Focusrite, strummed the guitar for a minute, plugged the mic into the Black Lion pre, and then went into the line in on the
Hmm.
Focusrite.
Hmm.
Same volume, matched volume, strummed for a little bit. listened back to them and went, oh my gosh, that's not even close. That black line was sounding so much better.
Yeah,
And I was like, I now understand why we use preamps.
yeah,
External pre's. Yeah.
yeah. And that's it's very true. I you know, that's what you just said is very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but is there anything else you want to add to anything?
Oh man. Not much I can think of off the top of my head that we hadn't already kicked around for a little
Okay.
bit. I
Well,
sure do appreciate you having me.
yeah, it's been a blast, man. You know, it's we've only talked on Messenger, you know,
Yeah, it's true.
for years, but we never actually met one another face to face like this. And maybe one day, maybe one day I'll fly back there to Oklahoma and go hunting with you or something.
Heck yeah. And you're right. And you know, I still, because we've chatted for so many years, I was like, I feel like I know you.
Right.
Didn't feel abnormal at all to be chatting in person on a Zoom call. But you're
Yeah.
right. It is the first time we've done that. So
Yep. So
here's
it
to
was-
more.
Yep. Here's to more. Matter of fact, you know, I'll get my limeade here and take a drink to that here. So
I will too. A little Diet Coke.
yep. Anyways,
Cool.
so with that said, Mark, I really do appreciate you being on 5 and 5.
You bet.
And everyone, I will have all his stuff linked below in the description so you guys can find out where Mark is at. And if you are looking for your music to be mixed or any help with anything, reach out to Mark. He'll help you out. And
Awesome.
with that said, Mark, adios, sir. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Adios. Thank you.